Hey y'all, welcome to the YouTube channel. My name is Jay Wilson. I am a freelance Domo consultant, and today we're going to look at building a trial balance. I was having a chat with one of my clients the other day. They don't use Domo, they're on a different product, but he was lamenting how difficult it is to find a BI solution that can build a nice, clean trial balance. And I was like, well, that sounds like a challenge. Trial balance in Domo, let's make it happen. So I got together a sample data set. I'm using Dynamics NAV. I guess they call it Business Central these days, which is kind of similar to Exapta or NetSuite or SAP, whatever. It doesn't really matter what the transactional system is. But the point is I'm going to show you how to take raw transactional data and turn it into a trial balance without doing any ETL. No pre-aggregation, no custom apps, no beta features, no window functions. If you've been watching my channel, I do a lot of window functions, but this is going to be good. So what is a trial balance? A trial balance basically lists out every single GL account. It will usually say this is the starting balance at the beginning of the reporting period or the reporting year. It will have one column per month that says the sum of activity in that period, and then it'll have the end. Or at least that's what Rolando told me. Rolando is my financial analyst friend. He worked at a big accountancy consultancy. I've been in front of a computer too long. Anyway, this is what Rolando said a trial balance was. So if that's not what it is, talk to him or post in the comments how you think a trial balance should be structured, and maybe I'll show you how to do that. In any event, let's take a look at what we're going to end up with. We're going to end up with this, but it'll be a journey to get there, so I'm not giving away all the secrets. I'm going to use a fusion that does a straight join across two data sets, GL accounts and GL entry. In NetSuite, in Nav, in GP, whatever, you'll usually have one table that says, here's my chart of accounts, here's the name of the account, is it an income statement or a balance sheet? That's one table. And the other table will say, these are all of my transactions. Here's the posting date when the activity occurred, this is the amount, and this is the account that was posted. So we're going to use a fusion to join those two data sets together. If you have any questions about how to get your data into Domo, I do have a couple tutorial videos that you might take a look at. Anyway, let's do this. Okay, so the chart of accounts in rows. This is a pivot table, by the way. We're going to build a pivot table, which is one of the newer chart types that was released in Domo. Oh, I want to say around Domopalooza, but it's been around a couple months now. Pivot table. I'll list out all of my GL accounts in rows. And then let's just start by taking the sum of amounts. Technically, that's a trial balance because we can prove that your transaction is balanced. If the sum of amount is not zero, we've got a problem because double entry accounting says that if you sum up all of your activity in the GL, it should net out to zero. And if it doesn't, you might need to apply some filters or make sure you're not inadvertently applying the wrong filters or any filters at all, really. Cool. We want to have one column per month. So I'm going to take posting date and put that on the columns axis. Looking good, looking good. These are individual days. So I'm going to graph by month. And yeah, my trial balance. Now you might say, but Jay, I want to have it be for just one reporting year, not spanning multiple years. Okay. And so that's where a little bit of customization comes in. So what we'll say, if the data is before my reporting year, 2015, then I want to call it starting balance. If it is after the end of my reporting year, I want to ignore it. Those are going to be the two criteria. Cool. Let's build ourselves a little. I'm going to call this report periods. And so we'll say case. I don't like these. Anyway, when the posting date is less than 2015-01-01, then ignore, starting balance. But that's text. So I'm going to prefix it with 0 starting balance. That way it sorts nicely. If you wanted to, you could have the sorting, like the text and the number sorting be in different columns. But I'm going to put them in. When the posting date is greater than or equal to 2015-01-01, and the posting date is less than or equal to 2015-12-31, then I want the year month. So date format, percent year hyphen percent month. Cool. And then else ignore because it's outside of the range of data that should be considered in my report. Is this valid SQL? It's good. Okay. So now I'm going to put that on the axis, on the columns axis instead of month. Do I have a syntax error? Boy, you are what? What are you struggling with? Hold on while I pause the recording and sort through this random error. Found it. Date format requires 2 arguments, but it didn't error out, which was a little weird. Okay. Sorry about that. So what were we doing? Pivot table. That's going in columns. GL account. Put it all back in. And the sum of pivot table. I can't win. Swap the axis. Thank God for recording. Okay, here we go. So starting balance 0, and then I've got my months going across, and then in the last column I have ignore, which I want to remove. I want to ignore. So I'll just figure it. Filter it out. So I'll say selection is not in ignore. Here we go. Trial balance. All the rows add up to 0. Cool. I want to know the name of the GL account because that doesn't tell me anything. So I'll drop name in on the row axis. And then now, depending on how you're set up, the default behavior may or may not be to show subtotal rows. Like if I reset all chart properties to the default, it may or may not show subtotals. So just make sure to, if it's there, just disable it. Okay, looking good. Where's my grand total? Show total row, show total column, and do not show subtotal. Okay, Domo gets confused. That's all right. We're good. So here's your trial balance. Sorry for all that clicking around. But here we are. This trial balance works. And here's the sweet deal, right? Because we didn't do any sort of crazy pre-aggregation or whatnot, I can now filter on rows that are at the transactional level. So if you have a product posting group, which is just a nav column that happens to be populated, I can group by my export. If I have a business posting group, I can now filter by, oh, that's the one I just showed. I'm sorry. I can filter by raw material, sales activity, and so on. That's good. But this is actually a twofer. This report is actually a twofer because a trial balance is just a report that has the income statement and balance sheet combined as just a list of all my GL accounts. So if I were to filter on income statement, hey, I've got a P&L. And if I switch to balance sheet, am I clicking these in backwards order? Yeah. Point is, I can have a balance sheet, an income statement, and a trial balance all in the same report. So yeah, super easy to do. If I didn't have to fumble so much, that probably could have been done in 2 or 3. And that's what I showed to Rolando, and he was pretty impressed. Formatting, we can get all of that stuff in. Next question, Jay. In your report periods, you hard coded the date. Could you not hard code the date? Can you have this just dynamically set dynamically so we don't have to edit? Here's where you might be tempted to go wrong, but I'm just going to put it in place and we'll see. So you might say, oh, well, I know that if I can get the year 0101, yep, I know that I can use the date format function to get the year start. And let me put that in over here. So 2015-01, that's the start of the year, right? So date format, posting date, percent year hyphen 0101. That should return the start of the year. And I need end of year. So how do I get end of year? Date format, posting date only, percent y hyphen 1231. That will give me the end of year. You know what I kind of want to do? I want to have the old version of it, just in case. I think it's good practice to keep previous versions of your beast mode in the beast mode instead of doing like a BM-v2, kind of like a separate like a v2 kind of thing. So do that. Now what happens? This is interesting. I see 2014-12 is back and my starting balance is gone. And I'll notice that here's 2012 and there's 2016. Oh, it's just not applying the sort order. Come on, friend. What are you doing? Okay. And so here's 2016 again. And you're like, but Jay, all we changed is instead of hard coding the start date and end date, we put that date format function. Jay, are you sure? You know how to write beast modes? Yeah, pretty confident. Here's the thing. If I look at my list of all of the report filters and scroll through, I only see valid start date and end date. Or sorry, I only see year month. I don't see any of the text, starting balance or ignore. And you might be wondering, but Jay, does that mean your beast mode is wrong? Well, let's talk about what's actually happening here. Let's say I have these set of data. In my beast mode, I've said calculate the first day of the year. If you were doing that in Excel, you could write that as oh, how do you make a date? Oh my gosh. That's what it was. So we did year 1, 1, and then we did for the end of the year, $12.31. Same thing. Okay, that's what we're programming into the beast mode as, and let's just call it what it is. It's the posting date, year start, and the posting date, year end. Now, if I'm honest, usually I will implement a date dimension to handle these kind of calculations so that I don't have to do it in the beast mode or remember logic that you saw me just blank on. But we have to ask ourselves, even if we have the right date, so is it ever going to do what I want it to do? Well, ask ourselves, let's go down here. What is the definition of starting balance? Starting balance are cases when the posting date is less than the year start. So let's look in Excel. Even if this data goes back to the dawn of time, my transactional data, will there ever be a case where the posting date is less than 1/1/2014, less than the year of the posting date? And the answer is no, it's never going to be less than. Conversely, this value will never be greater than that value because I'm doing the wrong calculation. In this Excel, I'm calculating the start and end of that year. That's not really what I want, is it? I want to know if this value is less than the start of my report year. So instead of doing this, I'm going to black it out. What we really want to do is I want to hard code the same date onto every single row of my data set. And then I want to ask, hey, are you less than that? Oh, yes, I am. Are you? Sorry, you understand what I'm saying. So yeah, I fall within the required parameters. So I want the year month. And what about you? Are you is the transaction greater than the end of the report year? Yes, it is. So then ignore. And what's different? Other than my inability to explain things. What's different is I want the value to not change across rows. If I were joining on a date dimension, which is a solution that I oftentimes recommend to people in the dojo, the community site, I'll say, yeah, you should build a table that has one row for every single day so you can get attributes of that day in a calculation. If you were using a date dimension, what you will probably do is you will join to the date dim on posting date equals date. And you'll still get the wrong response. So date dimension, still not the answer. Those of you who've watched my YouTube channel, you know the only way to do this is by creating a parameterized query. And in order to do that, you know we're going to use my favorite technique, join column on 1 equals 1. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that's why you should pause right now, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and go back and look at some of my old tutorials, because this design pattern solves all sorts of problems that you can't unlock using standard normal Domo stuff. So, all right, let's build this parameterized 1 equals 1 scenario. Well, I've already done it for us. I created a web form. I created a web form that has the report year start, the report year end hard code, and join column is 1. And I want to join this web form to every single row of my transaction table. Now, I'm not going to join on date, but I do need a column with the fixed value of 1 in my transaction table. Now, Nav, GP, what's the other one? NetSuite, none of those will have that data for you. So what I had to do is I had to edit my Workbench job. So I go into Nav GL entry. By the way, Workbench is a tool we're going to use to push the data into Domo. And I can edit my query. Usually I don't recommend that you hard code SQL transformations into your Workbench job as you're pushing it into Domo. But in this case, I want it to arrive with the join column so that I don't have to do ETL in Domo, like a magic. Cool. Coming to the transaction, what does it look like? Where's my entry? Here it is. I have hard coded a column called join column that exclusively has one value, 1. And what that will allow me to do is it will allow me to edit my fusion that was previously just combining my transactions with the information about GL accounts, but now I'm going to put in that web form. And the join column, the join parameter, will be on GL entry join column, which is a 1, is equal to a 1. And that will be true on every single row, which means that it will put that those date parameters onto every single row of my transaction. Let's take a look at what I'm in close. Here's posting date. So this activity took place on December 31st, 2014. But because 1 equals 1, I've joined in report year for my trial balance. In execution now, how do I change this guy? So this is now going to be my version 2, right? This is B1. This is going to be B2. What are we going to change? This time, I don't have to do crazy math. I can just refer to report year start. Report year start. Report year end. I'm back to having a starting balance again, and I don't have 2016. That's perfect. My query is now parameterized. My fusion is now parameterized. And what I mean by that is if I alter the web form, so if I go to my web form now and you say, oh, Jay, I want to look at the trial balance for 2016, all you have to do is edit the web form. Now, you'll recall at the beginning I said it's super important to me to not do any data pre-processing, no groups, no joins, no magic ETL, because I want to be able to come to my visualization, just change the web form, refresh the page, and instantaneously see the updated results. Notice right away, I only see data for 2016, and everything else is under starting balance. And that's just because I have very limited data in this sample data set, but it's doing the job. I could change the web form to 2017, 2018, 2019. Very easy for end users to have that quickly updating trial balance. But you might say, Jay, my users don't want to have to edit a web form. Can't you like give me something I can click on here that will choose between 1 year? All right, picky. This is where it gets good. So I hope you're paying attention. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna copy this row and then set it to 2015. Join column is still 1 equals 1. Now, when I go to my visualization, you're going to say, oh gosh, Jay, it broke again. Look at this, 2015-01, and then I got 2016, you broke it. Well, no, I didn't. I didn't break it. What's happening here is I have two versions of the report stuck in the same data set. I've got to differentiate between the reporting years. What version of the trial balance do you want to look at? So what if I put report year end as a quick filter? And let's make that. So now my end users have this experience where they're like, oh, cool. I can choose 2015. Notice January 1st is gone. Or I can just look at 2006. Flicker and it's not under door. How does this work? Well, remember, we're using a fusion to join this data in. And now what's interesting, let's take a look at the fusion definition. There's 2 rows in this data set, and there's 2,823 rows in my transactional data. When I join on 1 equals 1, the output should be 5,646 rows. I should double my transactional data because one chunk of the data will be for reporting year 2015. The next chunk will be for 2016. If I had 5 or 6 report layouts that I want to choose from, then I would duplicate the data that many times. But because I'm using a fusion, it doesn't count against my row count in Domo, and it's super fast and performant to get the results. So I could just as easily go back into my web form, and I could build another, I could say, oh, you know what? I've got data for 2000. And that will work. I've now tripled the set of data. I've tripled my row count, but I just have to choose the correct parameter, which I would put in a dashboard as a filter card. Okay. Now you are hopefully saying, but Jay, I am too lazy to update this web form. What if I do a typo? What if I forget to put data in? I'm lazy too. So hopefully you thought, hey, what if I took that date dimension that Jay's always harping about, and then I build a data flow that generates 1 row per report year and the start date and end date of that report year, and then just have my join column. I can take this and replace my Fusion web form with that data set generated via what did I use? I think I used MySQL. Either way, I can use a data set generated via data flow so that I can, let's say I just need to do a rolling 3 years, because nobody looks at a trial balance from up to 5 years ago because I don't need to do it. And then I just swap this in and we're done. I'm gonna get off the soapbox, guys. I think I've told you everything there is to know about building a trial balance. So if you have any questions, hit me up at jae@onyxreporting.com. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel if you found this content useful and relevant. Again, all we were doing here is building a simple trial balance. I guess where was the original mission? This was the original mission, to build a simple trial balance that shows all of the activities since the dawn of time as a starting balance, then the net change from month over month, and then the ending balance. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll catch you guys later. Have a good one.